And we are officially live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of Dual Dynasty, your weekly WWE review show here at the BC WrestlePod Network. I am Mikey, also known as El Jefe around these BC WrestlePod parts, and joining me this morning/afternoon/evening, whenever you're watching this in the world, is the Pleat Father himself, the Kilt Man, who is in the building. Hi, Kilt. I'm happy to have you here.
Hello, Jefe. I have missed you since Wednesday.
Very true. It's been a crazy couple of days, but we are back once again. And we are back to our regular scheduled programming of WWE reviews. We took the last 2 weeks off due to watch-alongs, and then last Sunday was Clash in Paris, which we reviewed this past Monday, and now we are back to our weekly WWE reviews as we are now gearing up for WrestlePalooza happening on Saturday, September 20th, and we got a couple matches. We got 2 matches made for those officially this week, which we're going to get into. But before we get into all of that, if you are new to BC WrestlePod, we thank you for being here. We are just a bunch of individuals who love professional wrestling, and we spend almost every single day of the week reviewing weekly TV shows and pay-per-views of pretty much a bunch of the feds here in the United States, the independent scenes, and the international brands as well. So however you found us, we appreciate you being here, and we love it. Of course, we also understand that full-length live streams or our edited reviews may not be for you, as they are long and you might not have the time to do so. But if you want to still be able to help and contribute to our little community, we recommend that you follow us on the social medias at BC WrestlePod, where we will do all our report cards for the weekly shows and the pay-per-views, as well as some fun stuff. And stay tuned, because this week we're trying some new stuff, as this leads into my final thing, which is the merchandise. We yesterday I did a bit of an overhaul of our store, and so I also created some new designs, which will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But our new design is available for you, our fall collection shirt, which we have dubbed the Pumpkin Suplex Latte, which is a lot of fun for sure.
I love that. Oh my God. I want someone to take that and use that as a move, please.
It is for sure fun. For real. So
Don't mind me. I'm chatting about NXT,
and which will run all the way to no. I know everything is happening. So everything is happening. The wrestling gods are attacking my internet, but that is okay. But our fall shirt, which is available in the link in the description for our chat. Of course, all the new shirts that we are doing will have charity tie-ins, and our fall shirt charity is going to have part of the proceeds donated to No Kid Hungry, which is a charity organization that helps kids not go hungry this holiday season, and also this back to school season as well. So make sure to pick that up and stay tuned because it's great. Of course, we got some friendos in the chat that I'm going to want to highlight real quick. So our newest friend who Kilt made friends with going to these NXT tapings is in the building. So love that you are here. And of course, friend to the channel, Nick, is also here in the building to be our disruptor during this review. So I'm excited to have you all here. But without further ado, let's just jump straight into it so we can get in and out in an efficient manner. So we're going to kick things off like we normally do here at Dual Dynasty with, Monday Night Raw, which took place from not Chicago, that was Friday.
No, that was SmackDown.
From Paris in France. So we were still in Europe and we were still in France for Monday Night Raw over Labor Day weekend. And so we kicked Raw off with CM Punk waiting for Seth Rollins to come through the gate. So Adam Pearce comes into the scene, and we as the audience are told that this is the only gate in and out of the building, which I was like, lies, but I was like, we know where this is going. So Punk was going to be here for the majority of the show, ready to throw hands, which is great. So we will be checking in with Punk throughout the Monday Night Raw episode and review portion of Raw. But let's move on because now we actually get to our first official segment out here. Ooh, Nick coming in with, the take. Very international feel to Raw, like they were going through the motions for a quick pop. I was like, I feel like I could say that for both Raw and SmackDown this week, where we went through the motions to get the moments and to get the pops. But yeah, the international crowd has been great. But we get a very serious look in the main event. Jey Uso coming out in the black tee and the sunglasses and the chain. And then so does LA Knight. LA Knight blames Jey Uso for what went down and, blaming him for, taking his shot away to become a champion at Clash in Paris. But before these two can further their argument, they both get interrupted by The Vision, which is Bronson Reed and a Braun Breaker. Paul Heyman is still recovering from his attack from Roman Reigns at Clash in Paris, so he's still not here. And the Vision challenged Jey Uso and LA Knight to a tag team match in the main event later tonight, should they accept it. And of course, they do. So our main event is set for this evening of The Vision versus main event Jey Uso and LA Knight. Yeah. So we will come back to these four when we get into our main event because, Kyrie out here trying to play peacemaker. She's a child of divorce. It is crazy out here. But we get this backstage segment with Io, Kyrie, and, Asuka. So Io is trying to apologize and telling Asuka, that her and Rhea's friendship and relationship is not too important because she's friends with Rhea, but it's not going to come between her and, the Kabuki Warriors. And Asuka is being very backhanded vindictive in this whole thing. Again, she's just like, no, don't be friends with Rhea. Kilt man. Yes.
We're far enough into this. I can say this now. She's being a bitch.
Well, that summarizes it perfectly. Your words, not mine. But yeah, Asuka, again, I know we're speed running the heel turn for Asuka because Naomi being pregnant kind of threw things for a loop. So we're speeding up the process in certain cases. But at the same time, I'm just like, damn, Asuka, we're coming in kind of hard. But I'm here for heel Asuka, not gonna lie. And Kyrie, I love you, but she's trying to play peacemaker and she feels like a child of divorce here in this case.
really right now what's happening is Kairi's being a very big yandere, but Asuka's being a very tsundere, and she's leaning too heavy into the tsundere and becoming a bitch.
I can't. I'm like, I can't. But hey, you know what? We're going to see more of Asuka and Kairi and Io because these three plus Rhea were all over the damn show this evening in terms of the women's stuff, which is crazy. But this leads into our first match of the entire night, which is the Kabuki Warriors versus the Judgment Day Girls of Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. This was a very entertaining match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, you know, the Kabuki Warriors, one of my favorite tag teams, you know, because Kairi's awesome, Asuka's awesome, and I love the Judgment Day Girls, so I didn't have a problem with this. The Kabuki Warriors would end up winning over the Judgment Day Girls, which is furthering the win record for the Kabuki Warriors. And we're going to talk about the Judgment Day Girls in a little bit because now they seem to have beef with a certain bird lady that we're going to see later in the show. But yeah, my final thoughts of this. This was a really fun match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. All right. So we were told last week on Raw, as well as leading into Clash in Paris, that we would have a conversation and Adam Pearce would address the state of the Women's World Championship title scene. As we know, Naomi vacated the title because now she's pregnant and she's going to have this baby. And then, you know, she's going to be a mom for a little bit. So we need to figure out who is our next Women's World Champion. Well, Adam Pearce makes it official that at WrestlePalooza, we are going to get our Evolution Battle Royale #1 contender winner, Stephanie Vaquer, getting her shot. And she will be facing against the former champion, who also did not get her match against Naomi, which was scheduled a couple weeks ago. So it's Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer for the vacant Women's World Championship at WrestlePalooza on Saturday, September 20th. And I'm just like, I'm here for this match. I think Io's probably going to win, but my heart wants Stephanie to win. But, you know, it is what it is. And honestly, I'm excited because this is going to be Well, I mean, Evolution was a PLE, but this is Stephanie in a singles match for a championship at a PLE for WWE. So I'm main roster, I should say. So I'm very interested to see how she does. And I'm not going to lie, Kilt, I want Stephanie to win, but I think they're going to give it to Io. I want Stephanie to win so bad, though.
Here's what I want. I want the bouncy, because damn, that would be great. And it's literally okay. I'm going to kind of pull some fun stuff from NXT, because there was a I can't think of the name. There was a sign at NXT last week that said something about Booker misses the Devil's Kiss, and we haven't had any Devil's Kiss on TV since Evolution, from my recollection. So I think we need some more. I would absolutely love to see her do that to Io, but then again, I'm a pervert. But yeah, this is gonna be an exciting match. I'm really excited. I'm gonna have to make sure I get my my Disney Plus upgrade so I can get ESPN as well.
I think I have ESPN. I have to double check, but if not, I was just like, hey, Stephanie McMahon is promoting VPN on her podcast, so I'm just saying. No, but I was just like, WWE, I already pay for a lot. So I was just like, if I don't have ESPN, I'm not paying for it either, but we'll figure all that out down the line. But again, it is going to be Io and Stephanie at WrestlePalooza for the championship. So that is going to be happening in 2 weeks. So it should be very interesting to see. CM Punk, we check in with CM Punk. He is still waiting for Seth Rollins to appear. And yeah, that's pretty much all we have here. We then get into our second match of the evening. This was a really fun one. This was Finn Balor versus Dragon Lee. Oh, Dragon Lee, I love you, but you and the rest of LWO are always, you know, getting pinned against the Judgment Day for some odd reason. So the international crowd was so here for Finn Balor, which I was like, yes, Finn is great when we use him correctly as well. So they were the chants for Finn were great.
the thing is, they're in France, and he's not English; he's Irish. So, of course, they're going to, root for him because he's not English. Sorry, that's a political humor joke of history that I love. Anywho, I honestly, one thing I enjoyed about Finn that night, we'll see in a later segment, because it was hilarious to me, is Finn's. We'll talk about it in a minute, but this was, again, it's like a lot of the matches because I had it speed run and everything. Excuse me. This was interesting to say the least. I kind of didn't understand it because it's like, why are we having a singles match with Finn and Dragon Lee? I thought we've done this before. Are we just repeating things again? And it's kind of like, okay, cool. It's a match. I mean, Finn's always going to be a good wrestler. He's a great performer. It's just, I personally didn't get it, and I'm like, okay, cool. We'll deal with that some other time.
Yes. So JD McForehead, as we call him, JD McDonough, JD McFivehead over here does get involved in this match, which would allow Finn to pick up the win here. And notably, Dominic Mysterio not out here with the rest of the Judgment Day boys. We're going to get to him in a little bit. But Finn Balor defeats Dragon Lee. And I'm like, oh boy. All right, let's see what happens next. So we go backstage. Io Sky is talking with Nikki Bella, and then Asuka comes in with Kairi to shoo away Nikki Bella. And again, Asuka and Io have some the tension is there. You can cut it with a knife, and Asuka is still being a total bitch. But you know,
this whole episode, she's been just She's been okay. So I said it in chat. She's tsundere, which is worse than a tsundere. It's more harsh and more vicious. And she's trying to push everyone else away from Io, so that way she can have Io all to herself. But she's also pushing Io away, and it's making Kairi look bad because Kairi's a little just precious angel. And I'm like, fuck, come on, stop being a bitch.
So. Again, we will see more of everybody later in the show. But speaking of which, Finn and JD find Dominic backstage. Finn's like, yo, man, why weren't you out there? And he's like, oh, I wasn't there physically, but I was there in spirit, right? And so Adam Pearce comes in to let the Judgment Day boys know that because of what happened during the match with Dragon Lee, Dominic Mysterio's Intercontinental Championship match against AJ Styles later in the show, the Judgment Day boys would be banned from ringside. So Dominic would not have any help from Judgment Day here. And as Adam Pearce walks away, Dominic's like, bro, what am I going to do? And Finn's like, oh, don't worry, we'll be there in spirit. So I was like, again, we are teasing dissension and things like that. I was like, it's gone on for too long. I'm like, I think we're waiting for Liv, but like, damn. Like what this?
Yeah, this was funny because it was Finn's like, I get to do this, lie to you back, and it's like, come on, dude. I understand you're jealous because he got the IC title and you only got the tag titles, but like, come on. All right, let's break it up so we can move along. Bring in the new Judgment Day.
Yep. So. After this, though, we get into our third match of the evening, which is Penta teaming up with the War Raiders to take on Grayson Waller and the New Day. I don't know why we needed this match. I will say watching Penta and the War Raiders do the Penta walk was fun to watch. It was fun. But it didn't progress anything. Like, we're not having feuds happening out here. Penta has been facing, Grayson and the New Day like one-on-one for the last couple of weeks, and now we're throwing the War Raiders in here. I was just like, this was a match to get the international crowd to pop for moments like the Penta walk, which was funny to watch. But other than that, this match had no consequence, no stakes to it. Penta and the War Raiders would win this match. So yeah, I have nothing more to say.
All I gotta say is ole, 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 cero, mierda. That was great. Also, the Raw is War shirts are back, which for me, I remember that being like 90s, early 2000s, like theme at one point. And I'm like, oh, look, we're doing a callback. I like this callback. This is a good callback. This is going to sell well. Make it happen, please.
Hopefully that is the case. But again, Penta and War Raiders do pick up the victory here. This is where the important bit comes because now Rhea is done playing nice. So Rhea gets interviewed talking about everything that has happened in the last couple of weeks. And Asuka comes in to interrupt this interview. And Rhea's like, listen here, Asuka, I don't got beef with you. I've been playing nice because I care about Io, but you continue to push my buttons and you're going to find out what happens. And Asuka's like, go for it. Nobody's ready for Asuka. So it's just like, bet, here we go. It was like Rhea's playing nice for Io's sake, but I also love that Rhea did tell Asuka, it was like, don't keep pushing my buttons because you're going to catch me on the wrong day and we're going to fight. And I was like, and we all know Rhea can fight. So I am here for Rhea and Asuka going at it. Again, we don't need the championship involved, but let them fight because it would be great television and great pay-per-view match. But I digress. So again, Rhea is having enough of Asuka being a complete bitch this whole episode too. So we shall see how this plays out into WrestlePalooza and what we're getting out of WrestlePalooza between everyone involved. So the Judgment Day girls find Adam Pearce. Well, the Judgment Day girl find Adam Pearce, and Roxanne Perez is mad at Adam because she's like, I pinned Io last and I never got a championship match. And so Adam Pearce tells Roxanne Perez, is like, listen, whoever walks out of as champion at WrestlePalooza, I promise you will be the first to get a title shot. And so then Lyra walks in and Lyra's just like, Lyra's just chilling. And the Judgment Day girls are just like, can we help you? What you doing here? And Lyra's like, unlike you two, I had an appointment with Adam Pearce. So then they begin to argue because, all that stuff. So Lyra comes in and she's like, Adam Pearce, I'm not here to cut the line or anything, but I want to get a shot at some championship gold. I can't face Becky and all that good stuff. Adam Pearce lets him know that Bayley is, Bayley reached out to Adam Pearce and, she's saying some crazy stuff, but she's doing okay. But she says that, she's said that she would get Lyra a match, and Lyra's like, okay, good. I want the Judgment Day girls. And Adam Pearce is like, are you sure? And he's like, Lyra's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, bet you get that match next week. So we're going to get Lyra versus either Roxanne or Raquel, or it might be a tag team match with Bayley. And I was just like, who knows? We'll see what happens with all of that. Now we get into our Intercontinental Championship match, Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles. The French crowd loves AJ because those chants were crazy. I love AJ and Dominic. I really do. But at the same time, I was just like, we've been having this feud happen before and after SummerSlam. And so, I don't know how AJ keeps getting these championship opportunities to face Dominic. But AJ, once again, gets very close to winning, but it was a Grande Americano latte, intervening with a loaded mass, headbutting AJ to knock him out, which would allow Dominic to hit the Frog Splash for the win and to retain his Intercontinental Championship. So I'm like, okay, so this is what, the second or third time that Grande Americano latte has gotten involved in AJ business. So I was like, AJ, I'm so sorry for you, but it seems you and Grande Americano Latte are going to be feuding next. I don't know what we're doing. The Intercontinental, the Raw Tag Team division, and then the men's Intercontinental Championship scene is kind of wild. I was like, what are we doing? It's not weird. Building anything. But again, Dominic is still your Intercontinental Champion, and I'm like, I'm here for Dominic as champ, but I want him to have a more substantial feud. And AJ is fun and everything, but we're not doing anything for anybody in this title picture scene. Backstage, LA Knight and Jey Uso are, still at each other's throats after everything that happened at Clash in Paris. And literally, this is the picture of, will they coexist in this tag team match? And the answer to that question is no.
Obviously, no.
I was like, duh. So I was like, so that sets up our main event. Rhea Ripley comes and talks to CM Punk, saying that if Punk needs somebody to help deal with Seth and Becky, that, you know, he can call on her. And Punk's like, cool, like, I'll keep that in mind. Adam Pearce lets Punk know that Seth is already in the building. Punk's like, how the hell did he get in? And Adam Pearce is like, I don't know. So Punk goes to look for Seth, which leads into Punk kind of hijacking the show a little bit, because he wasn't going to leave the ring until Seth Rollins comes out. But then he does get the man, just not Seth. It is his waifu, Becky Lynch, rocking the Bray Wyatt tribute pants, which I love. This was a really great segment between Becky and Punk, because Becky gets in Punk's face, you know, being the... recapping everything that went down at Clash in Paris, with Becky being the one to cost Punk the title, and that, you know, Punk is jealous, Punk can't touch Seth, all this stuff. And then she palms and smacks around Punk, but Punk ain't gonna do anything because he doesn't put his hands on a woman. So I was like, ooh, at this point on Monday, I was like, ooh, something's gonna go down, because then later on, Punk asked Adam Pearce to be like, hey, where is SmackDown on Friday? And Adam Pearce tells Punk that they're going to be in Chicago for Friday Night SmackDown. And Punk's like, oh, we're in Chicago on Friday. Bet. See you then. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. So we'll get into that when we get to SmackDown. But main event time. Again, this is your standard Jey Uso losing. And with insert tag team partner here, the Vision are able to beat LA Knight and Jey Uso. The Vision are standing tall at the end of the show, and that is how Raw goes off the air. I really have nothing to say, because poor Jey, man, he keeps losing. So I was like, did Jey do something?
Wait, technically you missed one thing.
Jimmy
comes out. Yeah.
So it seems that we're getting Jey and Jimmy versus the Vision. Who knows? We'll see. The Usos are probably back together as a team, at least until we get to Survivor Series. So we shall see what happens with all of that. But that is how Raw goes off the air this week in Paris. Overall, Raw was an okay show. Lots of segments. Matches were just okay. We didn't really have any stakes to them. The Intercontinental Championship was on the line, but I'd never believed for a second that Dominic was in danger of losing it. All right. So now we're back on stateside for SmackDown, which took place on Friday, September 5th, and we were in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago is famous and infamous at the same time for their wrestling crowd, because Chicago is a weird one and a weird energy, because they will let you know how they feel. But we kick things off, though, because we kind of get these two segments put together. John Cena's promo, and then Sami Zayn addressing, you know, him being the new United States champion. The Chicago crowd was not here for Sami. I was like, damn, Chicago. I was like, y'all are just not feeling Sami Zayn right now. And it was really weird. I was like, everyone needs to calm the flip down. Now, granted, I want more for Sami. This underdog thing cannot be said. He is not an underdog anymore. He is a main event player. So we need to stop using the underdog. And Sami, I love you, but we need to stop. You need to stop calling yourself the underdog. But the Chicago crowd was not happy. And I was like, damn. So, of course, Sami does what John Cena did 10 years ago when he was United States champion. And Sami Zayn, with John Cena's permission, would like to do an open challenge run as United States champion. And he asked Cena if he wants to be the first one. So they shake on it, which leads us into our first match of the evening, which is for the United States Championship, Sami Zayn defending against John Cena. This was a match that was meant to get the crowd's reaction, because it's Cena and Sami fighting each other like they did when Sami came over to main roster 10 years ago, and Cena was his first main roster opponent.
This was going to set the tone for the night. Then something happened.
Well, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, because we get about 8, 9 minutes, 10 minutes into this match, and both men are down. And then, of course, Bork Laser appears, beats up Sammy, beats up John Cena twice. Backstage tells to the cameraman, John Cena, "I'll see you at WrestlePalooza, bitch," which sets up John Cena versus Bork Laser at WrestlePalooza on the 20th. And I'm just like, okay, I already knew this was coming. It's whatever. I was like, damn.
This is what I gotta say. Just because you have a move called the F5 does not mean your presence is refreshing. Control delete yourself out of my goddamn presence.
Yeah, so I was just like, anybody who has been watching us the last couple months since SummerSlam knows our feelings about Brock Lesnar being back. I made a whole video on my reasoning for why this was tone deaf, but I don't work for WWE, and the majority of wrestling fans on the internet are calling me a loser and a leftist and a shill. But all I have to say to that is, right here, I give you.
I mean, you have to remember one very important thing, you dumbasses. You interact with the video. That just gives us more interaction. That just gives us more views. If you keep commenting, it just boosts our numbers. It boosts our stats. It gets us to more people. It shares us around. You're giving us attention.
You weirdos.
And you dumbasses.
Anyways, so this is the second match made for WrestlePalooza. And I'm like, yeah, so there's that. You know what? Like, Mello is backstage. He runs into Nick Aldis. He's looking for Nick Aldis because Mello, for the second week in a row, wants to get a United States Championship match now, especially now that Sammy is going to be doing these open challenges. So Mello comes and finds Nick, but Miz intervenes and asks Nick Aldis for a tag team championship match. And Nick Aldis is like, all right, bet. Mello is not happy with it, and Mello is just like, Miz, why do you keep doing this to me? I don't want this tag team championship match. And Miz is like, oh, don't worry, we're going to become tag team champs. We know that it's going to be Miz and Mello for a little bit, and I honestly think Carmelo is going to be the one to take the U.S. title off of Sammy. I don't think Sammy's going to have this title for long. So Carmelo and Miz are probably going to be feuding. I'm like, finally, after 3 years, please let's give Carmelo Hayes something more to do. Like, I don't know what we're doing because Mello is him.
I have a prediction. It's a very, very off the wall prediction. But let's say Tricky Williams loses the TNA championship back to someone from TNA, probably Joe Hendry. Because you have to say his name and he appears and he almost trips. Moving along. Hold on. Moving along. And so then Tricky Williams comes up. Let's say Carmelo does win that title. And then there's that feud right there. Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes back at it. I want that.
Oh, 100%. And I love that for you. There's one big problem, though, with that. So I think eventually we'll get there. However, I think that's not happening until after TNA's pay-per-view in October, Bound for Glory, because Trick Williams is scheduled to face Mike Santana for that title, as we learned from this Thursday's episode of TNA. So yeah, Trick is going to hopefully lose that title to Mike Santana at Bound for Glory. But that's not until October. So I'm like, damn, we're going to be here for a bit. So that's why I'm thinking that Miz and Mello are going to feud until then. And then if they decide to put Trick to main roster after that, who knows? But I think Trick is going to be stuck in NXT until at least the end of the year. So we'll see what happens with all of that. But we get this match. I don't know why we didn't have this in Clash in Paris, but we've been weirdly building this for the last 3 weeks. We had Damian Priest versus Aleister Black. Before the match even started, Aleister Black beats up Damian Priest. This was a okay TV show. This was an okay SmackDown TV match. Aleister Black does win by hitting the Black Mass on Damian Priest and wins the match. So it's just like, I want to like this, but you have given me nothing, SmackDown, to care about this feud. I'm not going to lie. I don't even think WWE knows what they're doing with this feud.
Yeah, it's a very weak feud. You know, it's like I see it and I'm like, I just don't care. Like I saw the match, I'm like, oh yeah, they're using Damien this week. I haven't seen it in a while. Oh, it's a match against Aleister Black. Okay, cool. Let's get it over with. I know you're gonna ham it up for a while, and let's just go. And then again, I was speed running this episode of SmackDown, and this was like match number 3, I think.
Yep, this was the
no, it's 2.
The second match.
Yeah, because match number 3 was Michin and what's her name, and then
yeah,
and then was there a match 4?
No, there was only 3 matches.
No, because it's like, okay, well, that was fun. Next.
Yeah, so Aleister wins. Something tells me we're not done here, and I'm just like, I'm dreading because they're not giving me anything fun for this feud, but I digress. Next week, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton will be coming face to face, so I was just like, cool, I guess. Tiffany is being interviewed, and Tiffany says, Jade keeps complaining that Tiffany only won that match at SummerSlam because Jade's foot was on the rope. And so Tiffany's just like, I'm willing to give her another shot so that way I can shut her up. So then Jade's in the locker room. Nia Jax comes in and is, gets in Jade's face saying, it's just like, oh, you get another title shot. Fun. And so next Friday on SmackDown, Tiffany will be defending her championship against Jade. And I was like, we're running back this SummerSlam match again. Why do we keep doing this to Tiffany? We keep rerunning her opponents. I was like, Tiffany is just out here, not even having a feud because we haven't really seen her interact too much since SummerSlam. Like she had that match against Nia, but that was about it. And I was just like, what are we doing? It's frustrating. I don't know what's going on in the SmackDown's Women's Championships division. Our main title and the women's mid-card title are just I was like, we're not doing anything. What is going on? But we get Jade and Tiffany round 2 next Friday, and I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
It hurts me. Anyways, moving on. Nick Aldis is like, Becky, what are you doing here? And Becky's like, I'm not here to cause trouble. No way, no how. And Nick's like, uh-huh. So this is going to set up Becky for later and what happens in the angle that closes the show. But right now, we got a championship match. This was our third and final match of the evening. This was for the Women's United States Championship match. Julia defending her title against Michin. This was a really fun match. I hate how we've been building to this because there, again, no heat. But I'm really happy to see, 2 Asian women on my screen fighting for a championship. This was really fun. I have to give it to Michin. That like Batista bomb that she has in her arsenal looks devastating as fuck.
So it is.
It's so good. But Kiana James would cause a distraction for Michin, which would allow Julia to capitalize for a running knee, and she would be able to retain her championship. Again, this was a really fun match, and I think this was probably my favorite match of the SmackDown episode. But again, like I said, for Tiffany, like Julia has been United States champion, and we haven't given her anything to do as of late either. So I'm just like, what are we doing with the women on SmackDown? This is kind of crazy out here. So this was funny and this was kind of cute. So Charlotte wants to be cleared so that way she could defend these tag team championships with Alexa. So she's trying to get to a doctor, and Alexa basically tells her, she's like, you don't need, she's like, listen, I know you're trying to get cleared to the doctor, but you have to believe in the power. Alexa Bliss literally pulls out the power of friendship card, like to get her through this. And so Charlotte's like, so basically I'm still not cleared yet. And Alexa just rolls her eyes. This was a cute segment between these two. I really love both of them.
It was adorable.
So this was cute. Alrighty, Kilt, let's get into what closed the show off, because first of all, Becky gives good and meme picture faces. Look at this face. So Becky, I was like, Becky, this was me when I found out there was only 3 matches on SmackDown this week, and I was just like, what the? So Becky gets into the ring, and she calls out CM Punk. Seth is in the rafters as we get to see him too. Punk comes down and gets in Becky's face. Becky once again slaps Punk. Punk gets out of the ring. He tells Becky, I didn't want to be put in this situation, but you and your husband have put me here. And, I'm still a man of my word. I will never put I will never put my hands on a woman because Punk is a gentleman and a scholar. But he has somebody he would. And we all knew it, especially because WWE fucked it up and already put the merch online. So we already knew what this is happening. But we get the familiar theme song of Let's Light It Up. And after 10 whole years, Mrs. CM Punk, AJ Lee, is back in the WWE.
Gosh, and she looks so good. Look at those abs. Ooh.
I know you could grate cheese on those abs, but what I love is that she's still committed to her ring gear when she was here 10 years ago, which is just a shirt, the Daisy Dukes, and the Chuck Taylors on her feet. AJ Lee is back. I love her. She gets into the ring. She brawls with Becky. Becky and Seth are like they seen a ghost. CM Punk and AJ Lee celebrate as SmackDown goes off the air. So I'm probably going to cause some hate for this, right? But bear with me. So I am so excited that AJ Lee is back. I'm so happy to see her here. However, I am also not stupid enough, WWE. This is how we end the show, but y'all damn well know that I was like, it's kind of disgusting that we have AJ Lee's returning, who is a pioneer of women's wrestling for WWE during the Divas era and became a crowd favorite, along with Paige when Paige came into. But you had Brock Lesnar on your show as well. I was like, how are you going to have this moment for women in general? And Brock Lesnar was on your show. It's just like, you didn't think we would forget because this is all anybody's talking about because this is what ended the show. But we here at BC WrestlePod are not stupid. And I was just like, y'all created a viral moment because this, I think, is at like 100,000, 1 million views already on YouTube, which is great. But we're not stupid, WWE. You give us these viral moments, but then like we saw in the rest of the review, your weekly shows are shite and they're mediocre. But you create these fun moments, and that's all everyone can talk about. So I hate that I have to say it like that because I'm happy that AJ Lee is back, and I'm excited to see her feud with Becky and her and Punk to feud with Becky and Seth. But at the same time, I was like, I'm not done, WWE. I was like, don't play in my face like this.
I got nothing. I'm just shaking fists. That's all I'm going to do.
So I'm excited for AJ, but I'm not dumb. Y'all also had Brock Lesnar on the show, so we gonna get your ass about that too.
Yeah, y'all fucked up with that one. Y'all should have just left that the fuck alone.
I was like, you created the moment, and I gave it a B on the report card because I will say that the match quality was a lot more decent than Raw, but at the same time, I was just like, again, SmackDown and Raw are very okay shows for the most part. And I'm just like, y'all expect me to just watch mediocre television. I mean, we cover you, but I'm going to call you out on your mediocrity. But this was a really fun moment to end the show. But yeah, this whole segment was a lot because these are like 9 pictures of the whole segment, which was like 15 minutes. So I love seeing AJ Lee back. That is how SmackDown goes off the air. And Kilt, that is the end of our WWE review. Again, told you we'd get out here in an efficient manner.
Oh yeah, we did. We're at what, 45 minutes for what was it, 4 to 5, maybe 6 hours of programming. The one thing I did forget to mention was I think Becky enjoyed motorboating CM Punk a little too much.
I was laughing so hard at that.
Oh my god, that was hysterical. Because it's like, I'm just gonna put my face in your titties. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
I love when Becky goes unhinged as the man character. It is the funniest thing on the planet to watch. But again, we reached the end of our Dual Dynasty review, which means I know Sunday technically is the beginning of the week, but for our wrestling review wise, that brings us to the end of this week. But we have a stacked week coming up. So let's take a look at all of this, shall we? So here is what to expect this upcoming week for BC WrestlePod. So again, it's another pretty much a regular week with the exception of Saturday. So on Tuesday, the 9th at 6 p.m. Pacific, the AEW crew will be once again here to review AEW Dynamite. and AEW Collision, as we are still in the middle of our Philadelphia residency at the old ECW arena. So we are now officially 2 weeks out from the AEW pay-per-view All Out Toronto, which is building up to be fun. Then on Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, the NXT Losos crew will be here to review NXT. So it'll be myself, Will, and Kilt, if you would like to join us now regularly.
Mother trucker, it is going to be on the regular. I am the on-site correspondent. Effective
immediately.
Yeah, effective immediately. It's just from now on, unless I have to skip it, and I am going to try to take my son with me the next when he's here.
No,
I'm going to these shows. Like as I was talking to Dania earlier, one of my buddies. He's one of my NXT buddies that I see every time I'm there. I'm starting to get to know people. I'm like Mike Rome. I might try to sneak Mike Rome on here one day. I'm gonna work my magic.
We will work our magic. But so Kilt, Will, and I will be covering NXT, and then later that evening on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, Will and I will be covering another episode of CMLL, in which we are now 2 weeks out from the 92nd Aniversario show, which is going to be amazing and cannot wait. Then on Friday, the 12th, the TNA crew is back to review another episode of TNA, as we are 3 weeks away from TNA's next pay-per-view, Victory Road. Then on Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific, I will be here to do a live watch-along for MLW's Fightland. We got 8 matches scheduled so far. Gonna see if Adolfo is gonna be a part of this, as he is currently on his mini hiatus for the month, but he said he would be interested in any of the watch-alongs, so we shall see what happens with all of that. And then we are going to wrap everything up next Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific with our WWE review with the Dual Dynasty crew. So hopefully we will have the whole crew here. And the funny thing is that technically that will be our go home show review, as we will be making predictions for WrestlePalooza next Sunday, which is nuts. So stay tuned for all of that craziness. But yeah, that's going to be it for, us here at Dual Dynasty. I would like to thank you for being here and tuning in with us. We look forward to seeing everyone this week for jam-packed review schedule here at BC WrestlePod. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you later Tuesday to start off our review week with AEW. But until then, this is going to be sayonara, adios, and until next time, peace.